Assalamu alaikum everyone, and welcome back to Let's Level Every Class, the World of Warcraft Classic Anniversary Series, Episode 3, featuring our holy Paladin, Malakiel. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Top right corner of the screen, playlist card which will take you directly to this character's leveling campaign, and throughout all videos yet to come, there'll be a playlist card to take you to other characters and their respective leveling journeys. Shukran as always, family. Thank you so much for tuning in. Looks like we're getting a group formed to go ahead and take care of Princess, and this is really the spirit of Classic. Definitely in Classic Anniversary, I pretty much would assume across all servers. This is awesome. I was a little hesitant to take on Princess myself, considering in Classic Annie she actually has a posse to her. Posse just, referring to two other mobs, and that could be a little bit difficult for me to take on. So glad to know we got this little group. We may as well also just go for Dead Mines. If only we were ready to take on Dead Mines, if only we were ready. Look at that. I'm gonna go ahead and take care of these ads. They took Princess down, no problem. Now, as you can also see in Classic, you're gonna notice a lot of players will have, relatively speaking, the same gear as you. Like both of these guys, they definitely have the same pants on. And you're going to see a lot of that in comparison to, let's say, retail, where everybody looks different. There may be some similarities depending on the expansion and what's going on, but generally speaking, everybody's going to have, you're definitely going to come across players that have very similar levels of gear, and that's just coming from quests and completing quests, or I was going to say storylines, but that's not the correct term. But yeah, you're just going to see that. It's just one of those things. Now, I mentioned that I'm very excited to jump back into Classic because it's actually been a few weeks since I've picked up Malakiel in Classic Annie, so I'm very much kind of looking forward to it. Last episode we took care of some of Elwyn's basic quests. I know we had the scroll drop from the Defias mages up in the little island, so that was cool. I was definitely not expecting that. But we still have quite a bit of tasks to do. I think we're going to go ahead and also take care of the guards, the scouts for Stormwind right up here across the bridge, which is going to lead us to two guys. Oh, look, there's our partners. Now, I kind of wish we were just going ahead and stay as a group. Oh, no, there's a different gnome. I thought that guy was the dwarf that was with the group, but nope, that's a gnome. Freaking gnomes. Yeah, if you're lucky enough to get in a group, also feel free to speak up and actually say, hey, is anybody running these quests in this area, or would you like to group up for that? Don't, a lot of what you'll find in Classic especially is that players will often group for one task and then they're out the door. Now, they could also be doing a solo self-fund or whatever whatever challenge they could be running, so do be aware of that. However, in this case, I don't think anybody was. So if you ever can, do feel free, speak up, say, hey, is anybody running quests in Elwyn Forest or just any area that you're in? Make life a whole lot easier that way. Come time to, let's say you're going to go do, perfect example, you do Princess, and now you're going to go, let's say, hunt Hogger. Well, if there's a group already doing Hogger, best bet is just to ask and say, hey, can I get in? If the group has a spot. That way you just knock out two birds with one stone. You don't have to, come back, and it just makes life easier. Retail, you don't necessarily have to worry about that because you can practically solo everything. I've also been on a big Legion remix boom right now. I'm not going to say I'm addicted necessarily. However, it's so difficult. Like the last time it was one of my days off, and I game relatively speaking, I game pretty late in the night because that's just the time that I get, just a little bit of free time between fatherhood and other different work related tasks and such. But, I go from, let's say, starting at 8:30, you know, 8:30 at night. And then before I know it, it's 11. I'm like, my goodness. I'm like, barely feel like I accomplished anything. By the way, those storylines in Legion Remix, or at least in Legion expansion-wise, are long. Like, each region or each one of the major areas that you go to, oh my god, oh my goodness. Like, I'm working on Suramar right now. Excuse me, Suramar's story, and it's like, holy crow, this is taking a while. I really didn't expect that, but it's really fun. So I hope y'all, whichever version of Warcraft that you're currently playing, be it, you know, Legion Remix, Classic Anniversary, Retail, whatever, I hope your journeys are being just as kind and awesome as they are over here on this side of the fence. Ah, Murlocs. Hunting Murlocs. So Elwyn Force is like a combination of things. You go from hunting, and you'll find this in really a lot of classic MMOs. You hunt one mob, and then you hunt another type of mob, and then you go to the next region, and then you're hunting, and then you end up doing quests that are basically the same mob, just a stronger version. Like eventually, I know we're gonna fight some stronger Murlocs and some wolves. We'll have some dragon whelps, I think, in Red Ridge Mountain, so there'll be a little bit of diversity. Gnolls, you know, we get introduced to them here in Elwyn, but, you know, come Red Ridge, we have to fight them again and whatnot. But then it definitely starts to diversify. Like, for the Alliance, I mean, y'all have Loch Modan, so you guys get, you know, gators and such a little early. And by the way, ooh, look at that. Look at that. Nasty. Ah, poor guy. Rolf's fate. Every time I see the name Rolf, and I mentioned this in the Retail series for Retail's version of Malakiel's leveling campaign, and I mentioned this, but every time I see the name Rolf, I immediately think of Ed, Edd n Eddy. I immediately just go to my default, oh, it's Ed, Edd n Eddy, and it's the character Rolf, which happens to be like my second favorite character in that show. Gosh, man, I love Ed, Edd n Eddy. It's, dude, Cartoon Network back in the day, like, I don't know, man. The mid-2000s, early and mid-2000s, Cartoon Network was absolutely phenomenal. This guy looks like he's in, oh no, he may not be in trouble. We'll go ahead and help him out anyway. Oh, looks like I accidentally pulled one myself. So hopefully he does me a favor and, okay, or not. Hey, buddy. Okay, buddy. That was nice. That was very kind of you. I help you out. Not that you needed it, but just decided to help you out. And he decided to just run off. You'll get that too in Classic Annie. People are very goal-oriented, and especially with the Burning Crusade coming out next year, people want to really try, some, not all, really not all, but some will try to speed run their levels and whatnot. So you will definitely find quite a few players that are just going to be, again, goal oriented. They don't want to be bothered, and they're just trying to get their tasks done and such. And that's cool. Don't get me wrong. It's cool, but at the same time, you kind of want that community type of experience. But you'll find that in most MMOs these days, you kind of have to build the community yourself to kind of get that experience. Not to say that you won't, not to say that you won't get it just running around and doing such. Again, there's a good group, a good community on Classic Annie where people are going to group. You're definitely going to see it. You're going to see that in areas like Elwyn, especially around Hogger's Camp. You're definitely going to see that in Westfall. I'd go off the deep end and say you're probably going to see that in Stranglethorn STV, which is going to be a tremendous pain in the neck. I am not looking forward to Stranglethorn Vale at all. Not because it's not a beautiful zone, not because it's that I don't necessarily, I don't not enjoy it. It's just that, I think the dwarf NPC over there, I think it's Hemingway. Oh goodness. Pull 2. Dang it, this is the other thing. See, I was being very, very careful with trying to pull the 1, and it just goes to show you that you can absolutely pull an additional, as I'm doing right now. I'm trying to, hopefully one of them breaks away. Ah, nice. Good stuff. Good stuff. I'm very appreciative of that. That mage, that was a really long aggro radius for that one Murloc. The dude just wouldn't stop. What a jerk. But thanks to these guys right here. Next to a dwarf. I was just talking about dwarfs, and here you are. See? There's good community function here. There's a community here. Especially in times of need. You never know. I know the argument would eventually come of, you know, which version of the game do you prefer to play, classic or retail? And while the Let's Level series definitely right now is primarily retail based, it's only just now starting to get its classic iteration. I just like playing every version, to be quite honest. I feel like every version provides a unique experience. Definitely a not polarizing, but like if you're playing retail and then you jump to classic, it's really a wonderful experience to just go from one and then straight to the other. It's really fun. Mists of Pandaria is kind of like that middle ground where if you want classic but kind of in its middle iterations where you still have a lot of quality of life features, then definitely. But right now, especially with Legion Remix and everything, I feel like MoP isn't doing as well numbers wise because everyone's, you know, just playing the current versions and everything going on. But family, if y'all are enjoying the content, a like on the video would be amazing. Commenting for constructive feedback. Subscribe if and only if Let's Level has earned your trust. And shoutouts to Luck, Daidan, Christy, Bea, Misty, Camp Spaceship, Bricks and Magic. Y'all are absolutely phenomenal members of the Void Fam, supporters of the characters and their respective journeys. Again, y'all are incredible. A channel, be it on YouTube or Twitch or Kick, wherever you're creating content, it's nothing. A channel is nothing without its community, and I'm extremely appreciative of every little bit of support that the channel does get. Shukran. But, you know, what would be like my least favorite version of WoW right now? Honestly, Seasons of Discovery. SOD did... Now, I played SOD, I did a few shorts on it, so I was really late into the game, or to try to create an experience with SOD. SOD was just weird. And when I mean weird, I mean it that felt polarizing. SOD felt incredibly polarizing to me, to where it just didn't feel like Warcraft. It felt like it was Warcraft for sure. It was definitely World of Warcraft, but it didn't feel right. Something just wasn't sitting well with me playing the version. It just seemed like it's trying to be something that it's not. You know what I mean? It's very hard for me to describe, but I feel like Seasons of Discovery was definitely a test, and I think just looking and researching into it, I think it did a lot of things right, but it also just created an experience that wasn't ultimately going to last. Not that that was the goal for it anyway, but it just felt off. You bring all these different abilities and mechanics and stuff, mirroring retail a little bit, and then bringing it into classic, and it just throws the experience off. I don't know. It's like at that point, why not just play, Mists of Pandaria classic? Why not just play retail at that point? It's just, I don't know. That SOD I just couldn't get into, no matter how much I tried and how many times I tried to boot it up and just jump in, and it just didn't feel right. Something about Seasons of Discovery just didn't sit right with me, and that's just my experience. I know quite a few players, quite a few cohorts that actually really enjoyed Seasons or SOD. And, more power to you. Again, you have all these versions of the game at your fingertips, at your access. Play everything. Mashallah. absolutely amazing. Level 10, finally entering the double digits. You see how long it took us 3 episodes to get to level 10. Like I said, that's just the first 10. We got 50 more levels to go. Now, the leveling experience will definitely get better. It definitely does. It definitely will pick up. I want to say not so much the first few dungeons. Like the first 3 are kind of just like you do them once and then you just keep going. You go back to questing. But it really will pick up low 40s to kind of like mid 30s to low 40s, because Scarlet, that never has a shortage of people trying to run the set, so to speak. You know, run the gauntlet, Blackrock Depths, because there's a lot of good pre-bis gear or best in slot gear. A lot of good stuff in there. Upper Blackrock, I hated. I don't know what it was about Upper Blackrock, but I hated it. Stratholme, that's a few. You'll definitely have a lot of players trying to do Strath runs, more so for the orbs. I think it was called the Righteous Orbs to sell for gold. I don't even know if people still do that, but people, that's something to kind of look forward to. And Zul'Farrak, ZF. ZF never. I have never ever seen ZF not have people that want to run ZF. Like, people run ZF. That's honestly one of Classic Annie's most popular dungeons, in my opinion. Something about it, especially because you can solo it if you're a mage. I've seen some Paladins do some incredible work. That technique that y'all do where you farm up the mobs and then you AoE them down. So that's really cool. I don't know if I'm going to be doing that. I'm kind of a basic Paladin player here. I'm not that technically skilled and technically savvy, so we'll see how it goes. But I'm definitely looking forward to some dungeons, man. But you'll find that when you do dungeons in Classic, that it's designed for you to pick up quests on the Outworld, not the area Outworld, not that, but like out in the world of Azeroth. It's designed for you to pick up the quests that take you to the dungeons and then run the dungeons and then clear them, and hopefully you get enough, or you get enough of whatever gathering quest or whatever you had to do besides go kill Edwin Van Cleef or whatever the case may be. You get all your objectives done in the dungeon, then you go turn it in for a nice chunk of a chunk of EXP and whatnot. Because the way it works in Classic and the way it works in retail, it's the way the mechanics work and everything. I mean, you could just run dungeons all day and you'll be fine. You'll get, you will level at a very fast pace. But Classic is just, again, slow. Take it slow, take it easy, enjoy the ride. You might get a level in a dungeon, you might not get a level in a dungeon. It just depends on where your character currently sits. You'll see what I mean. We'll definitely, once we get to Dead Mines, I'll be able to kind of showcase that more and showcase what I mean by that. Because that's, I just, not having Dungeon Finder, dude. Ooh, Infantry Leggings of the Bear. Nice. I did not expect a green drop to come. That is very nice. Awesome. I was not expecting that. Okay, so a little bit of backstory here. I do not get lucky on drops in Classic ever. And I mean ever. Oh, we're definitely going to avoid that pack. I never got lucky on drops. Now, I'm not saying that to be Debbie Downer or anything, but it's just like out in the world of Azeroth, I never get lucky on greens. I've only gotten maybe 2 purples in the entire time I ever played Classic Annie, or just a classic version of Warcraft. And dungeons, I have a little bit of more luck, but Aragol robes and a few other different pieces. Mages, I think they're the Omnicast boots and the shoulder pieces, which are your pre-best in slot type of stuff. I usually do okay with, so I'm expecting some decent. Hopefully, we can get some decent drops to happen. Paladins is kind of a jack of all trades, master of none in Classic Anniversary in this iteration. You can wear a plate, you can wear mail. But we're definitely going to be competing with, you know, kind of hunters, because, you know, hunters are definitely, you know, hunters in Classic can loot on everything. So, because they can use practically everything, though why would you want to? You know, why would you want to loot on a wand that you're never going to use? But I've seen it happen. So I'm looking for, there's a few pieces I'm definitely going to pursue in dungeons, but if I don't get them, I'm not going to complain about it. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. The journey is going to continue regardless. But that's cool. That's another element that's cool about Classic, is that you have to compete with drops. You know, it's luck of the draw. It's, hey, just need it if you need it. If you don't, greed for it. Because you just, you know, you never know. You can get a drop on something that nobody needs, but then, you know, you just lucked out and now you can sell it for maybe a gold or a few good silver or whatnot. So all good stuff, all good things with time. First and foremost, though, we got to get through this this journey through Outland. And as you can see on the right side of the screen, we have a lot to turn in, a lot. And that's what I like to do. I know I probably sound like a broken record by now, but that's what I like to do. I like to farm up all the quests and go and get them done, and then turn them all in for a nice chunk of EXP. That's just how I do it in Classic. Retail, I definitely I do it a little bit differently. Let's just go ahead and get a few extra kills here. May as well. Why not? Get us as close to level 11 as possible. I believe Dead Mines for us will open up around level 17. 16 might be a little too early, but around 17, 18 definitely. But we're gonna have to wait and see how Westfall is going to go, because Westfall is kind of a pain in the neck in Classic Anniversary, especially trying to just because you got the null camps, you've got the Defias all over the freaking place. That's kind of a mess. I mean, it's a nice zone, it's a beautiful zone, but it's definitely kind of a mess. We're gonna have to be very careful as we can be. Let's go ahead and head back and turn in this Loverbird. Hey gal, here is yours. This is for you, Mrs. Maybell. Oh wow, she is incredibly happy. You go, girl. Here goes nothing. Let's cheer her on. Dude, that's like that's like the disappearing meme. It's like, you know, you put up the peace sign, dude like disappears. It totally looks like that. There should be a Warcraft. That should be the Warcraft version of it. Like, I've seen nothing. Or peace. See you laters. All right. Very nice. Very nice. Get the Loverbirds to kind of reunite. I'd love to know if there's a, you know, I would have loved to have seen a follow-up. I don't think that storyline has, that little side quest storyline has an actual follow-up in retail. I think you pretty much just do the same thing, and it ends with her going invisible and then just, I guess, running off to be with her lover and whatnot. It's cool. It's a nice little like Loverbird kind of story, you know, good in the feels type of story. But that's one of the side quests I wish, you know, they'd kind of delve into a little bit more, or, you know, do like a little bit of a follow-up. All right, and as you can see, especially until later levels, a lot of the gears for the early quests that you're going to get, it's not going to be too good. It's kind of just like throwaway stuff, but it's just stuff just to give you stuff, if that makes sense. Kind of a tongue twister right there. It's just gear to kind of get you by, and that's fine. I'm not too concerned about gear right now, because we're gonna level, like once we get to the 40s and 50s, that's when I really will start to kind of not play it by ear, but kind of just try to plan out what I would hopefully like to get. Warriors in Classic, shoutouts to the Warrior fam, y'all got it rough. Y'all definitely got it rough in terms of just all the gear, because Warriors are so gear dependent, man. And I'm not saying that, like, Paladins at the very least, we have some leeway. I really don't like the Paladin look where it's like you're maximizing every stat possible and you're wearing, like, what is it? One time I saw like the Judgment Helm, some weird shoulder pads, that's a bard, and then the boots and everything. And it was, don't get me wrong, it was like one of the player was like level 60. But it just looked ugly as sin. At that point, I'd rather take every stat decrease and just rock a full set of Judgment minus the helm. I mean, don't get me wrong, the helmet's beautiful, but I kind of secretly I don't like to wear helmets if I don't have to. If I don't have the ability to transmog, I don't like to wear headpieces at all, unless it looks cute. And then we'll have Malakiel rocking out some different pieces. I kind of want to, but that's the other thing. Vendors gear, even in the first major area for characters, tends to be on the pricier side. And right now I definitely want to stockpile as much gold as possible, specifically for skills and professions. I definitely want to do that. And, well, yeah, skills and professions. One good saving grace we have is Paladins and Warlocks in Classic Annie get their mount for free. At least your first mount you get for free, and then we kind of, have to do the same process as everyone else. But that's definitely going to save us on, 40 pieces of gold? Yeah, that's a pretty big investment, especially because most of us as players are going to be maximizing our skills because we're going to prioritize that, thinking that that's the best thing to do. And for the most part, for most classes, I would argue it is the right thing to do. Healers, however, I think there's some leeway, because I've been told that if you upgrade your healing spells, and I've seen it firsthand, that if you upgrade too far, you can actually pull way too much hate depending on the dungeon and depending on the level range that dungeon is in. Yeah, so abilities here, yep, lay on hands, we're definitely going to want that. It's crazy. It's a stroke of genius to the designers and developers of the original WoW, because everything is planned. Your first initial journey, I swear, is planned. It's such a calculated, like, look at that. We went from 20 something silver, now we're down, like, just right then and there, between 12 and 14 pieces of silver gone, just like that. And we don't even have, I have enough to kind of upgrade, our weapon and a little bit of gear, but the problem is you kind of don't, like, for me, how I approach leveling in Classic is anything I get for free, I'll wear and I'll use. I don't like to buy and vendor a lot of the items just because they're so overpriced, but would you rather get that nice weapon upgrade from a vendor, like even though it's a gray item, or would you prefer to save that and use it for a skill that you're going to use and need? That's where the argument comes from. You have this decision making, and it's a stroke of genius. And again, shout outs to the designers and the developers, the original team behind Classic Anniversary, because they really thought this out. You can tell it was a labor of love for sure, but you can tell that everything's kind of secretly planned. Like, your journey is going to vary between player experience, and their journeys are going to vary, but the path you have to take is going to be very similar. Again, for warriors, you guys need the abilities. That the cruddy part for warriors is, like, you need the abilities, but you're so gear dependent and heavy, and you're expected to be, kind of, in a way, because you have to tank. And most of you guys are going to want to do fury tanking, or instead of protection or whatnot. It's, oh my gosh, I couldn't imagine. Having to get the Hand of Justice, the Blackstone Ring, the freaking, the Whirlwind Axe, then Enchanted, then you get, oh gosh, forget it, dude. Then you gotta get this pieces from Scarlet, Herald's Shoulder. You gotta get, What else? What other pieces am I missing, family? They're on the tip of my tongue, and I can't remember. There was a neck piece that was pretty important. It's so much. At that point, I'd rather just be a backline healer and just be like, all right, well, I may not be the best geared, but at least I can heal and keep a team alive. You know what I mean? Oh, goodness. I'm still trying to get used to Paladin right now. Oh, having to buff every certain... gosh, this is one thing about Classic I despise. Having to constantly buff certain buffs, at least in Paladin sense, like your might and everything. You know, you just have to do that. Ugh. It's like every 10 seconds. It's like, gosh, and you're flipping between which seal you want to use depending on the situation. It's like, oh gosh. It's a good thing, it is, because it's forcing me to keep me on my toes. It's forcing me to really adapt to the needs of the character rather than the needs of the player. Man, is it rough though. I love all the cows too in the background. Yeah, flying. Gosh, that would be nice. That's another thing when you're in these like lower level zones, and you're seeing the players that have access to flying and they're taking the flight paths and everything. It's like, gosh, that would be nice right now. But it's really nice. It's such a good experience and journey, because then you kind of yearn for that. You're kind of like, I'm excited to be able to fly in this game. I'm excited when I get my first mount. These goals that you're consistently working towards, you're constantly thinking about, oh man, you know, I know what it's like to, you know, to fly in Classic. I know what it's like to have a mount, but when you don't have that, oh, look at that. That's nice. We'll take that. You know, when you don't have that and you got to work for it all over again, because nothing's handed to you. I mean, well, I guess some things could be. But when you have to work for that type of stuff again, it just makes you feel like you're a part of the experience, like a part of the journey and such. Can I do this? There's 3 of them. None of them are elites. She's the problem because she's the caster. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. We can go ahead and give it a try though. Oh, wow. Wow, what a distance. She aggroed really far. I barely took 2 steps and that girl was just like, oh, you're here. Okay, can I do this, family? Alright, she's gone. Let's get a holy light in. Get a second one in if we can. Oh, not good. Not good, not good, not good. Okay. I think we can still do this. If I can just take him out, but I think the problem is I need his head. Gonna have to pop a potion. Let's conserve what little mana I have left. Nice, nice. Now let's get this guy. Pop a seal. Swing and a hit. You know, one good thing is we're not missing. We're not missing a lot, so that's good. Alright, I can take a daze. That's fine. Alright, we got it. Nice. Nice. Alhamdulillah. Great freaking job, team. I was a little worried, right? I was a little worried for a second there, but that was awesome. Nice. Thankfully, I kind of prepared for that. Oh, I'm sorry. It's the ring, not the not his head. I'm too sorry. Flashbacks of Classic. Because you end up getting a lot of, you know, quests, hunting quests specifically would have you just get the mob's head and bring it back to the person. But that was good. That was very good. Nice. I'm very happy about that and how that happened. That was a very good turnout. Let's go ahead and turn in this as well. I don't think we get any. I think guard over here. I think he has a shield for us, if I'm not mistaken. Nah, disregard. I mean, we'll do it. We'll definitely, like I said, we're definitely going to take care of all these quests here in Elwyn Force, get a full clear of the zone before we move on. But that was really, really good, family. Thankfully, I skilled up the two-handed mace to the point where I wasn't going to be missing, because if I missed once or twice, like 2 or 3 times during that fight, that little battle, it would not have been, that definitely would have turned out a different way. So that was good.
Farewell.
Great job. Seriously, great job. Family, I think I'm going to go ahead and call it here, though. I'll go ahead and off screen and turn in the remainder of all these quests. Maybe I'll go ahead and take care of, oh yeah, that guy. We'll come back for him. I'll go ahead and turn in the quests that we got. I'll catch up with y'all in episode 4, and I'm thinking episode 4, I'll meet you guys just outside of Hogger. Let's see if we can get a group together, and let's see if we can hunt the big bad Knoll himself, the original boss of Elwyn Forest. Looking forward to it as always. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Shukhan, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Take care, family.